Hello and welcome back to TimberBorn. You join me as I'm loading into one of my game saves that I have over 20 hours on already. Full disclosure, this game is not sponsored. I paid my own money for it and I enjoy it. I've owned the game for maybe a week now and I have put almost 40 hours into it already, and it's a good game. So, if you are coming off of just watching my last episode, what we left off with there is going to look completely different to what we have here. It might be a little startling, and that's okay. So, if you look at this, you're like, okay, that looks pretty cool. You got lots of water pumps and some big water storage. If you come over to here, we've got lots of trees. You've got whatever this is. And we come over into here, we've got a big town and lots of windmills and some weird fancy buildings over here. And we continue on, and we've got, oh, there's the headquarters there. And we continue on, we've got a lot more forest and lots of buildings, lots of red things popping up. And we've got another one of these, and it's just, that looks like a massive farm, and there's buildings on top of buildings, and there's like big industrial areas, and it's just like, what's going on down here? It looks like a mess. And that's because it is. It is one giant mess. And you remember what I was going on about last time about forgetting to mark cutting areas for trees. Common example right there. I was like, why are all those trees growing and these ones aren't? Makes perfect sense. So let's continue on. Let's start playing this game a little bit here. Get into some daylight and make things a little bit easier to be seen. Where do we start? We've got a lot of stuff going on here. To start the game off, where we started, we had this building. That was it. We are on a massive plateau in the center of the map here, and this is where we started. That's all we had. So then I built a farmhouse, and I built a water wheel, and I built this lumber mill. Then I built this. And then I built a science place. I built a couple of them actually in a log pile. And then eventually I built a storage box, which was right here. And then I built another one on top of it. So, it's a lot to take in. But this is more in-depth and more mid to late game stuff. So, if we come down through everything down here, you'll see I have everything unlocked. There is no red anywhere. We have 4,000 goods right now, just materials. We have a lot of food. We're running low on bread. I'll have to ramp up bread production. We have a decent amount of wood, we have a decent amount of water, and we've got an absolute whack ton of science. We have an overall beaver happiness or well-being of 12. If we click on this district itself, then we bring up our own menu. If we come off of this, anything in the purple is total. The whole area combined. So right now we have 439 adults, 25 children, for a total population of 464 beavers. We've got a total of 472 slots for beavers to live, 0 homeless people, total of 78 unemployed beavers overall, and these are all the jobs available and how many slots they are filled. As you can see, I've got a hauling post here with 150 jobs available. We only have 135 of them filled. And the reason why is because at some point I've gone through and I have fired a bunch because I was running out of employees elsewhere. Just so happens how people grow old and die. They need to be replaced by the younger generation, and I might have forgotten to bump them back up like I have here. So let's bump those up. Click the plus, they will eventually be filled. But as you can see, when I clicked on that building, we switched over to the green, and we have 0 unemployed people in this district. So I'm gonna actually bump that back down because I want unemployed people. I only have one unemployed beaver right now. And that is a fault of my own. So as you can see, this is the best way to build the housing, from what I can tell, from my personal experience. When you start off, you will only be able to build these type of lodges, which they hold 3 beavers. That's cool, that's great, and you can build on top of them and everything. But 3 beavers isn't a lot. You're taking up a 2x2 area. Yeah, you can build up, but it's taking up a fair bit of space for only being able to hold 3 beavers. Let alone, if we come down to here, we're taking up a 1x2 area with this little guy, and he can only hold 1 beaver. That beaver is age 98. He's been around a long time. Let's all say hello to however you pronounce that beaver's name. I'm not even going to attempt it. But unless you have a really good well-being, overall well-being, you'll never see a beaver last that long. The problem is with beavers lasting that long, when they start dying, they drop like flies. So if we come into our well-being here, this is for the main district. This is the district I started in. Hunger, thirst, sleep, all full. Social life and fun, we'll get into those in a bit. Nourishment, 1, 2, and 3. So if we actually click on a beaver here, if we scroll over any one of these, it gives you a description. Social life, this guy's got 0 social life. This improves the chance of them making babies by 50%. So you definitely want as many of your beavers being able to have a social life. And how you get social life is by going down into the leisure tab. And if you scroll over any one of these, we've got a campfire, which satisfies social life, can hold 5 people at a time, and must be built on the ground. We've got a couple of those sitting right here. As you can see, there's a beaver sitting right there, no fire going, and he just left. He said, nope, there's no fire, I don't want to be here. And that's fine. So if we come back down into leisure, we also have a rooftop terrace, and those, as the name suggests, can be built on roofs. And they look something like that. Am I going to build it on its roof right now? No, I'm not, because I can come over and show you this one. So that's a rooftop terrace. And beavers come and go. All the beavers improve their social life. As you can see, we come in down to this guy. Full social life. He's 50% more likely to have babies, which is good. We like babies. Fun. Working speed. 15% boost. How you get fun is through the leisure tab again. And you got to do a carousel. This is the only thing that I have found satisfies fun. The carousel requires 400 horsepower. Now, once again, these are the same beavers I was talking about before. And with these beavers, there is a couple different ways of producing power. We've got a power wheel where you literally stick a beaver on a wheel and make them run like a hamster. It's a hamster wheel, beaver wheel, if you want to call it that. They produce 50 horsepower each. And yeah, you're going to need a lot of them if you want to power a couple of buildings, as you can see. I've got 3 buildings, or this printing press that requires 150 horsepower needs 3 of these. So you're going to need a total of 5 beavers to run this one building after everything's all said and done, which is a printing press. We'll get more into the printing press later. So the other thing that you've got down here is a windmill. This small windmill can produce 120 horsepower. So if we come back up over into here, we've got a small windmill there. That's the small windmill. And that's the large windmills. I'm not sure if you can really see the difference there. I'll see if I can get a better angle for the two of them, side by side. Small on the right, large on the left. As you can see, big difference in size. Also big difference in output. The small windmill creates 120 horsepower. Large windmill, 300 horsepower, over double. Another good thing about the large windmill compared to the small windmill, sometimes these will just stop spinning because there is less wind. With a large windmill, you've got bigger fans and bigger blades, and they will continue to spin longer than the small windmills do. So, it's one thing to note and take into consideration. You do have to go through the tech tree and unlock them through science points, so that's all fine and dandy. I would recommend getting the large windmills sooner rather than later. And to be honest with you, switching over to wind power as soon as possible is actually going to be better than wasting a lot of space in your precious water area with water wheels. Yes, I know they produce 150 horsepower or 180 horsepower, sorry, they produce a pretty good amount of power. But if you've got a bunch of water wheels down here all linked up into a network, you are losing out on a lot of valuable space that could be used for crops or forestry. We've got a big farm here, and that was growing with your population. You always want to make sure you have more food than what your beavers are going to eat. As you can see all these red signs popping up, that means the wind has stopped blowing and they are out of power. That is the one downfall with wind power over water power. But water power will also stop in a drought. Unless you have running water, the water wheel will stop. So you gotta bear that in mind. That, like I said, that's the reason why I say the wind power is because all these buildings are up in the gray area where we couldn't plant anything anyways. Alright, lost my train of thought. Give me a beaver. Show me a beaver. Show me your beaver. Age 10. 10-year-old beaver. So, nutrition 1. Life expectancy 30%. Nutrition 2. Strength 30%. Nutrition 3. Carrying speed 20%. So, all these play a big factor. Nutrition 1. You can achieve that through carrots. If you go into carrots, you've got carrots take 4 days to grow. They do hunger and nutrition 1. We go into potatoes. They take 6 days to grow, and you need a second building to do anything with them. Same thing with wheat. They take 10 days to grow, and you need 2 separate buildings before you can do anything with them. So, for potatoes, we'll come over into food. And you're going to need a grill. The nice thing is about grills, you don't need power for them. They're completely self-sufficient. So a good way to get ahead of the game quickly is to build a grill and start planting potatoes. It only takes 25 logs, and you can, from one potato, you can make 4 grilled potatoes, which is pretty good. So for that, I can make 4 grilled potatoes. That's 4 beavers that can be fed off of one 1x1 square. With the carrots, you can get 3 carrots, but obviously they eat more carrots because it doesn't fill up them as much. Now moving on to the wheat, which as you can see down here, I've got a massive wheat farm, and there's a reason for that. The reason being is I expanded from here, in this whole area up top, down into this area. But there wasn't that much green area down here. So it got to the point where I was having to send food from this area up here down here to support this area. And now how I send food is through these buildings here. We have a distribution center. With a distribution center, you also need a drop-off point. So we've also got a gate here which separates districts. So at this gate is the border between this district and this district here. A key note when expanding, place this down in the most central area you can. If you want to expand more so in this way, you'll want to place it more down here. Originally, when I built it, it was up here. Which that means I was not able to expand down here, and there was a big metal area down here that I wanted to scavenge and get the scrap metal from. So I ended up having to move my district center down closer so I could expand further south, as we're facing right now. It would be south. So that is why I came down here and I built a farm. And at this point I already had explosives, so I was able to place explosives down here and down here to expand the green zone all the way out to about here. Instead of just the normal river, I was able to plant a lot more. So as you can see, we got a lot of wheat here, but we're going to need 2 separate buildings to make anything with it. We come down here into the mill, we're going to have to make the wheat into flour before we can do anything else with it, which that starts to get expensive. 40 logs, 20 planks, and 20 gears. And starting off, wheat is not your friend. Don't even plant wheat when you start off. Middle to late game, sure, you're going to want wheat. And then you're going to need a bakery. At least the bakery doesn't require power like the mill does. It requires 60 horsepower, not a lot, but still enough. With the bakery, you can make, out of one flour, you can make 5 pieces of bread, which is nice. So down here, I built 1 and 2 mills right off the bat. And then I built a third one as well because I wasn't producing it fast enough. And then I built 2 bakeries, which are constantly working. And I built a couple of storages, which this one is actually full. 4,000 slots just built. Close by, because most of these are prioritized by haulers, and I'll get into that next. But I wanted everything close by to make it so if they wanted to shuffle things around, it was quick for the worker to move things from spot to spot to keep them going far enough. And then once I did that, because this is my farming, quotation mark, farming area, I put the distribution center right here. And as you can see, I have 3 different routes to all my different districts. They're not quite in numbered right because I had to delete a few here and there. And I'm sending bread out to all my other districts for the sole reason not every district has enough room or power to run the mills here to make the wheat into flour. So this area originally didn't have as many trees, hardly at all the amount of trees, so it was all a farming town. So I was sending logs, I was sending planks, and I was sending gears, because this area, these two are separate. This lower part is that area down here, and this part is my industrial area, if you will. This is where I started mass producing planks, which is this building here, and gears. The problem is with planks and gears is you need planks to make gears, and everything needs planks and gears. So you can see where you run into a bottleneck. You're making planks to build something, but you also need the planks to make the gears to build the same object. So it's a vicious cycle. We also have a paper mill, and as you can see, if I click on this, all these buildings are green, which means power will get sent through this building. So that means I don't need all of these connectors. I could delete all of these but one, and all these buildings are still going to have power. But this one is not, because it is not connected to this. These buildings are very different in a way that they can't accept power on all sides like these buildings can. Same goes with this one as well. It can only receive power on the back sides and the sides. So as you can see, these two buildings are connected through the power, so they don't need separate ones going through it. The shredder and the explosive factory. The shredders do your scrap metal and stuff. Your paper mill makes paper out of logs, which you need paper to make explosives. How that works, I don't know, but that's just how the game has worked. We've got a printing press, which makes knowledge, makes books out of paper, which is great. You'll want to get that later on down the road as well. Moving on to the distribution centers. I'm going to cover both the distribution centers and the builders at the same time. So haulers are exactly what they sound. Each hauling post can hold 10 beavers, and they do just that. They haul things. They will come down and they will pick up the goods out of the farmhouse right here, which actually they were just picked up. And the haulers look different because they carry things on their back, right? So you can see this guy works at the hauling post and he is running along. He's currently carrying water. He's carrying 2 out of 23 kilograms of water. That one beaver can carry 23 kilograms of stuff because he has good stats. He doesn't have very good knowledge, which that means his working speed isn't as high. That's because I'm not producing enough books. You need books for knowledge, and only adults can serve that knowledge factor. Fun and social life. The fun helps his working speed as well, so if I was able to get all my beavers into either a rooftop terrace, which, to be frank, I don't have as many I don't have as many campfires as I should in this town to help improve that, so that is my bad. That's a fault on my part. Let's just click another beaver here. As you can see, I've got a lot of beavers walking with stuff on their backs because I have a lot of hauling posts. I have this one right here, which doesn't have as many workers as it can. I have that one there, that one there, 2 more down here, and that's it. I have 4 hauling posts in this one area. And the sole reason for that is to make everything run as smoothly as possible. If I can have 40 beavers dedicating and just moving things back and forth. So as we see here with this lumber mill, for example, it has 12 out of 13 logs it can hold before it makes them into planks. The builders will come and pick up the planks, but who's supplying the building with logs in the first place? As you can see up here, the checkbox, prioritize building by haulers. So with that checked, the haulers will go and grab wood and bring it to this building, so the worker who works in this building never has to stop. See, there's a hauler leaving right there. And he just took the planks that were in there and put them in storage. So whenever you have a big area like this, where a lot of things are being produced in one small area, it's always good to have as much storage close by as possible. So each beaver has the least amount of space to go, means faster turnarounds, means that beaver can get moved on to different tasks as quickly as possible. Hello, Towman G from the future here again. We really need to stop meeting like this. I want to go over the one fact in this. I didn't go over the builders. Builders are self-explanatory. The headquarters or the district centers employs beavers. You can build the builder's hut to gain more beavers, to build things. That's all they are. You can also expand ranges and stuff like that. Pretty much self-explanatory. The other thing I wanted to touch on is those haulers that I was clicking on that didn't have very good stats can also be attributed to the hours they work. Where haulers, if they're hauling things across the map, when it comes to be quitting time, they might not get back to the work site in time before they got to turn around and go to sleep. So they don't have time to go to the carousel or rooftop terrace or campfire to increase any of those stats. So that is one other thing I noticed in my recording that I should have touched on when I was recording this. But no, I'm dumb, and here I am. And here I go. Enjoy the rest of the video. Sorry for the interruption. A lot goes into layout. So as you can see, this part up here is built on more so of a plateau than the other part. And I knew right off the bat that I wanted to build my power station up here. The biggest downfall of doing this is all the windmills are built right on the edge. So if you didn't do this quite right, and it's not for a lack of trying, like one of these, the power connectors that connects all these together, the 4-way split takes 4 logs, the 3-way split takes 3, the bend takes 2, and a straight through takes 1. That takes 1 log to build one of these sections, where the large windmills take 30 paper, 20 gears, and 40 planks. Those can take a long time to build, so the builders might just go ahead and start building all your connectors first. Well, once those are built, how are they going to reach the windmill that needs to be built? And since it's right on the edge of a fucking cliff, excuse my language, how are they going to get there? I'm not building platforms up to it, I'm just going to end up deleting one of these pieces that they've already built. So, it's always good to prioritize these over these. I've learned from my mistakes here when I built these ones over here. So as you can see, I left space on both sides to put a path down, and I was able to also make a spot over the road so they can get down both sides and build both at the same time. And then I had to expand and make another row of windmills as well to be able to power this carousel. And this carousel satisfies fun. Now, if I can find a beaver, which was a little hard because it's night and they've probably all gone to bed. It's almost morning now, so I'll just fast forward some time. And I know I'm just burning through the days on my own accord, but we've got the fun here, and that boosts up the working speed. Everything makes it more efficient. As more green in here as you can get, the better. Spirituality is satisfied through the temple. The temple, you come back down into leisure, and it's right here. It takes 120 logs and 40 planks. It can be visited by 15 beavers at a time, which is kind of nice, so you don't normally have to build more than one of these per district, just because they can hold so many at a single time. The carousel as well satisfies fun. It takes 400 horsepower, so it's not something you'll do right off the bat. That's something for the late game, just to help improve the quality of life for your beavers. As much as I say just beat the beavers into the ground, be as hard on the beavers as you want, no one cares. The beavers care. Take care of your beavers, guys. Be nice to the beavers. Don't be hard on them. Apparently, back in the day, that was the worst thing you could ever say on television, and here I am blabbering about it on YouTube. Man, how times have changed. So, moving on into a little bit more in-depth late game solutions. As you can see down here, I blasted through this land and built a path on top of it. There's no water flowing through this section right now because I built a dam here. But I wanted to fill this section up with as much water as I could to expand my farm. See, there's some water coming out of it now. The reason why the water isn't always flowing is because this isn't a high flowing river. If you take a look at it, the water doesn't seem to be moving super fast. That's because it hasn't had a drop off in a very long time. Even at this dam that I built here, there's no drop off. This was all man-made, all the divots here that you see. The last drop off we actually had was way back up here. So the water is moving very, very slowly by the time it gets all the way down to here. So it gets to the point where sometimes this section just dries up after a while just because there is no momentum of the water, and I've got this dammed off here. It also doesn't help for the sheer amount of water pumps I have down here. Now, there is a reason for that. And the reason being is since this is such a low flowing river, I cannot leave a water pump running in this section. Even though there's a fair bit of water in this whole section, I cannot leave one running very long through a dry spell. So I built an abundance of them when it's not a dry spell, so I could build this. And this took a while. I used explosions, or the explosives, and I exploded 3 down, and I can't remember exactly how many wide and across, but I made my own water reservoir. So right here we've got a water dump. So that's exactly what it sounds. A hauler will bring this building water and it will dump water into the surface or the area that you have created. Right now I have 2 of them running just because their evaporation is a thing in this game. So that's something you always have to think about as well. So I could really pause one of these and just let the worker go out and do other things because I apparently have 41 unemployed beavers in this district. And no children, which is great. So when people start dying, I'm going to have a problem because they're not reproducing. And that's another problem that you're going to see later on. So I've got the water dumps here and I've got a water pump. The pump is paused right now because there's no sense of me pumping water out of something I'm literally filling up with water. And then I exploded a couple of little trenches down just so I can make this farmable. This was all brown eventually, or at one point. It was all brown. There was no greenery. There was a scavenge point right here full of metal. And I decided this is a good spot. I needed a little bit more farmland because my farm could not expand any further this way. As you can see, they don't plant this this strip here from either farmhouse. It does not reach, which is a shame, but it is what it is. But with me bringing water down through here, it made even more section of this green and able to be farmed. I know I'm jumping all around in both the previous episode and this episode, but there is a lot to talk about, and it's so broad with all this because I'm just trying to give you guys the basics and what everything does and the pros and cons to it. Remember how I was talking about those small lodges that hold 3 people? These are the double lodges. They hold 6. The problem is with these right off the get-go is they have entrances on the 2nd floor. So you need to build a path up to them. Platform here. They'll need to place down some platforms. They are 2x2s, so 2 platforms will do. And then you'll need to build housing. Now, double lodges aren't the biggest. They hold 6 for 20 logs, or you can go into the triple lodge, which holds 9 for 35 logs. Now you're thinking, okay, that's, I don't really know if that's bang for my buck, and it's not. Because it takes up the exact same amount of space, but it's a lot more to build. If you think about it, I could fit 6 beavers in a 2x2. I could fit 1.5 of the double lodges in the space of a single triple lodge. Why would I do that to myself? And that's just it. These are the best to do, in my personal opinion. And as you can see, these are red because there is a tree that didn't get cut down there, so I'm going to have to mark these for demolition. You can build over stumps, but you cannot build over trees. So just mark them all for death. Mark them all for death. Get rid of them all. So come tomorrow, someone will come by and destroy them. And once that's done, then I can expand on my houses. I normally find a good strip. When I first started this area, I plunked this down, I plunked down a drop-off point. And before I moved any beavers over to it, I had this bridge already built from the beavers over here in this district. And I had water and food sent to the drop-off point, including in logs and planks and all the building supplies. So when I migrated beavers over, they already had supplies here to start building, and I had a log placed down, or set to be built, and I had a storage warehouse set down, ready to be built as well. So as soon as they got here, they got right away on building these things. And you'll want a storage if you are expanding into a new district almost right off the hop, because these drop-off points can only hold 300 of anything. So you're going to want someone to be able to empty this into something else, just so you can keep getting more resources sent into you. Because if this is full of logs, and your beavers are starting to die from dehydration, you can't get any water to them if this is full. Just something to think about. So, this seems to be the best setup. And now, why do I say that? As you can see, the beavers are going and deleting all those stumps. Because you can come back and you can build on top of them as well. So you can build on top of them, do another path down, and then you'll just have to do an extra large platform, which can be unlocked, or you can just build 3 of the regular sized platforms. So you need to build one of these coming off and stairs down to either the ground floor or the second or the first story path that you already have set up. So you can actually double the amount of housing space just by putting more on top. As you can see, I did that. Where did I do that? Did I do that on this save? I don't think I actually did do that on this save. But as you can see, I've been doing that on pretty much all of them. Occasionally you'll see a triple lodge just because there wasn't room to fit 2 more small lodges. So I do a triple lodge just to use up that extra space. The nice thing is about a triple lodge is their doors are in the center, where these ones are vice versa. So if we see the paths, when you're building them, you will need 4 long, and you'll need each one to be built for each entrance on each house. So you'll always want to prioritize your platforms first to be built, because it's definitely a pain in the rear end when you finish building the house and they can't get to it because the path isn't there. So, moving on, we are getting a little bit more in depth here. What's this burning thing? Flame of Progress. Satisfies all 2 within 10 tiles. So 1 by 1 square. This whole gold area that you see, or yellow area lit up, is the area of effect. So what Awe does, let's click on a beaver, let's click on you. Awe 2 creates better walking speed. Awe 1 makes working speed up by 25%, 30%, and Awe 3 is life expectancy, 40%. So if your average beaver lives to be 100, you can make it 140 with Awe 3. Now what Awe 3 is, it's this guy. Now it's a lot to build, and it takes 600 horsepower, so 2 of the big windmills, but it also has an area of effect of 20 tiles, so as you can see it's a massive area. Awe 3 tribute to ingenuity in District 2. That's what I call District 2. And it covers also most of District 3, so you can spread these out. As long as you've built close enough together, you can get the best bang for your buck by kind of putting them in the middle. Now to build that, you're going to have to go down into monuments. And this is where you're going to find all your labor monument, your flame of progress, and your tribute of ingenuity. As you can see, this one here for all 3 takes 600 horsepower, 400 planks, 200 gears, and 300 metal blocks. That's a lot of materials. On top of that, it takes 1200 science to unlock, which is a lot of science. It takes a while to gain those. That's one of the main reasons why I had 8 science centers going up here. I can't remember if I had another 1 or 2 placed out sporadically or not. I don't think so on this playthrough. They all kind of blend together, unfortunately. But I've got another one over here as well, and you can see it whenever you click on this statue, they all light up. So if I click on the flame, you can see I've got another one down here, and I should have a one over here and one down there as well. So you're going to want to spread these out, just because the more your beavers pass through each area, the better that bar fills up. So as you can see, this guy spends a fair amount of time in all 3 of them, and the more he's around, the aesthetics here, his working speed also goes up. So you can see where he's standing, which I'm not sure exactly where he's gone now. There he is. He's running through the wheat field. That was going up. And what those are, we scroll right in. So like I said, we've got the benches there, which is neat, but we can also come down into decoration. We've got the bench, which serves no purpose other than seeing your beavers look cute by sitting on something. But we also have a shrub. It takes 12 logs to build, and it satisfies the aesthetics than 1 tile. So if you place down a couple of these in spots where you wouldn't be able to place down anything else anyways, just along random spots of normal working paths, it will also help your beavers live a longer, happier life. Just place a couple of them down. Right now I'm not too concerned about wood or anything. I'm in a spot where I'm pretty comfortable with pretty much everything that I do. As you can see, I built that flame up here on a 2nd level of housing. I built all these 2nd-story houses after I built this. So that's why I went with the triple lodges up here, just because I wasn't going to have enough room. As you can see, we are drought incoming in 3 days. So I'll show you what I personally do when we get into that. But that was my idea for the housing there, and I just built another level up on the pre-existing level that was down below. As you can see, another small setup of what we were doing over in the other spot. This was not man-made, this hole was already there, so I literally just put a water dump and a pump. So this will last a fair amount of time. Beehives. Beehives are something unique to this faction as well. They say that it helps all nearby crops. I have yet to really see a difference. To be 100% honest with you guys, I haven't really noticed a great deal of difference. As you can see, we got potatoes ready to harvest, and those are all within this area, but we've got potatoes ready to harvest over here and not over here. It's just normally how they end up harvesting them in the first place. Another tip when it comes to farms, when you get into a bigger setup, have two. Just have two farmhouses. This one's set to planting, that one's set to planting. But if you want a pretty decent cycle, turn one of these guys to harvesting. So if I turn those guys to harvest, and these guys to plant, these guys will go by harvesting everything, and these guys will run behind them and plant everything as they go. It fills up one building more than the other, but as you can see, these guys are not set to prioritize building by haulers, and neither is this one. So we'll do that. It means we've got enough haulers. We have like 40 haulers in this this area here, so we might as well prioritize that. Food is not a concern to me. As you can see, we only have 2 berries, 23 bread, which we're constantly making more. We've got 2,585 carrots, and we have 1,427 grilled potatoes in stock right now. Let's just click on this warehouse for an example. 1,863 carrots in this one warehouse alone. We've also got 700 grilled potatoes in this warehouse. A bunch of metal blocks, a bunch of planks. Like, it's just, yeah, things fill up after time. I spent a lot of hours in this game playing on 3 times speed, just passing through the days and building things as quickly as possible. This area right here looks confusing, and it is. It was originally went all the way around in a semicircle and came down. This hole was always there, but it was empty. So I blasted a hole through it to fill this up. So when a drought comes, I pause all of these pumps, but 2 in the middle. So they'll draw from the middle first, which I really should put a dam here now that I think about it. Thanks for reminding me, guys. I will do that. Now, the nice thing is about being in this area, we've got lots of paths. These paths are from District 2, and these paths are from District 1. So both builders will come and build this thing within reason, because they are both close enough. They will both send guys, and they both know that they're sending guys, so they won't send double the amount of guys to build one thing. As you can see, we got a bunch of beavers coming with wood and stuff. They come build this. It only takes 20. We'll get that done here pretty quick. And since my beavers are so well taken care of, they can carry a fair bit of weight. 2 logs. They can carry 13 kilograms. That guy can carry. That guy can carry 13. And the dam is damn near done. Dam is damn near done. That's great. When the drought happens, the water level that's inside this area will not affect the water level that's outside of this area. And as you can see, I've also blown a couple of spots through here just to expand the green area a little bit further, and vice versa. That's the reason why I built a dam here to keep this area green, built a dam here to keep that area green, and every other sort in the nature. I built this area here for the sole fact that if I do run out of water in this area, I'll get water quicker. Might be able to save a couple of crops in the meantime. I've got a lot of crops, so I don't really need to worry about that at this stage. But at the beginning, I wanted to get as much water down here as quickly as possible, because I've got a lot of water pumps. In District 2, this is the only water source I have within range, and that's why there is so many water pumps in this little area. Now, the biggest issue I run into, and my one gripe about this game so far of me playing it, when the drought happens, I wish there was a button that you could go in and click pause all water pumps. Just pause them all and have that for anything. So I could go by and say, I don't want to build any more gears anymore. I need to build nothing but planks. and I don't want my planks to be used for making gears. I could go in and pause all my gear workshops in one click, whether that be in a separate menu or what, but as it sits, that is not a feature in the game. So when you have a drought coming, which I would, the night before, as long as you have your working hours not set to 24 hours, the night before, go in and pause all your water pumps. Maybe leave 1 or 2 running. Even on a three-day drought, if I leave 1, maybe 2 of these pumps going, it'll drain enough water to where all my crops and my trees will start to wither. The trees aren't so bad because they last a lot longer than the crops do. The crops will dry out and die pretty rapidly. So that brings us into water storage. You can never have too much water. Build water anywhere you can. The nice thing about having a water storage up here is a beaver will come up and drink it on his route. If a beaver gets thirsty and he's way up here, I don't want to have to see him run all the way down to a water pump to get a drink. If I can get a couple of water sources in and around different areas that are being filled by my haulers at any given time, any other beaver that isn't normally around the water could get a drink on his normal run through. He doesn't have to make a special trip to go and get water. That might take him a while to come down and get to a water pump, especially on the layouts that you have. Especially like down here, if a beaver got thirsty down here and I had a water barrel sitting down here, working on what used to be the scavenger flags, where the scrap was, you wouldn't have to run all the way down here just to get a drink. So there's pros and cons to everything. Like I was saying in the first episode, you don't want to maximize, you want to be able to maximize your greenery space between water, power, and crops with trees as well. So it's a fine balance you got to maintain. So once you get into the late game, all you really got to worry about is managing your population. Making sure you don't overgrow. And on this faction, it's pretty easy. If you don't build any more houses, they won't produce any more kids. We only have room for 97 people in this district. And how many people do we have? 94, 95. A couple people are died of old age. Now the problem is, we only have 5 unemployed people, so if we have another 5 people die from old age, jobs aren't going to be filled. So if we come down over into here, we see I have 40 unemployed people here. Well, I don't have houses for them all up here, but I can easily migrate, District 1, let's migrate 5. Migrate. So now these guys will have a couple of homeless people. We have 2 homeless people, but we have a nice little comfort buffer zone of 10 people. We've got 2 people dying from old age. Unfortunately, I can't click on them. If I could find their body somewhere, I would be able to see how old they were when they fell over and died. But I can't. So that's the only downfall you get when you get the life expectancies going so far. Like if you see down here, I just had a bunch of people die from old age. A couple people grow it up, but I had a lot more people die than they grew up. So you can run into a fact if you're not watching it carefully where all of a sudden your key aspects and your key buildings are now out of workers and you don't know about it because there is no notification. And I don't want a notification. Developers, if you're watching this, I don't want a notification every time someone dies. That would get way too in-depth. So now that all my workers are done for the day, they're all going home and they're all dealing with full storages and full water, I need to come and pause all the water pumps. Because if I don't, they will start up in the morning and they will start pumping the valuable water I need to keep things alive. So in this setup right here, I leave this pump on because it's connected to District 2. I leave this pump off because that's connected to District 1. I normally turn this pump off as well because in District 1 I also have these 2 water pumps. I've never had these 2 water pumps empty out this full trench yet, knock on wood. And I went through with explosives and I blew down deeper. So that means it can hold even more water. As you can see, I've lost out on a lot of the middle ones because I would have to build a path out over top of it or a ladder stairs down to be able to gain access to that. And I've pretty much filled it with crops. So I'm kind of shot myself in the foot there. As we are going, I forgot to pause it, and as I was talking, I forgot to pause all these water pumps as well. And it goes to, I get to show you my whole thought process on the other man-made water source. So we've got lots of water storages. You come up here and you'll want to pause your water dumps if you have them when you come into a drought, and I turn on that water pump. I'll get a worker here as soon as I click play, just because I fired a bunch. So now the water that we've been pumping into this reservoir, because that's what it is, will slowly be sucked out. It's not going to be a lot of water. One water pump is not going to suffice 117 beavers for very long, but it will make it so our storages don't get super low, and that's my whole goal. I don't want to get everything super low and run right out, because if I run out of water now, it's going to take me a long time to fill everything back up. So same thing down here. I'm going to pause a couple. I'm going to leave this guy going because that's a nice big water source. Yes, I got trees and crops around it, but if this slowly starts to sink down, I'm not going to, I'm going to lose a lot. These trees aren't going to die in a couple of days. This might die. I have a lot of wheat. I have 4,210 wheat. Oh, I've got wheat for days. I'm going to leave that guy going. I'm actually going to pause this one. I like to leave this one running just because I have the two storages right there. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pause this water dump, and I'm going to turn on that water pump and play. So now that I've got all the tedious things, walking around or flying around, whatever you want to call it, and making sure I've got my water pumps turned off just to save some water. I'm not saying turn all your water pumps off and just only rely on your storage. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is take a note of how full everything is. So I just don't want to make this water line go down too far. Once it goes down to the top of this block here, it will start losing its area of effect of green area space that it puts out. I hope that helped a little bit more for mid-game going through what things are. I probably missed something because there is a lot of stuff to go over in this game. And this is only the one faction. The other faction, there's a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of new unique things and different ways of doing things. As you can see, I have very few berries. This is all the berries I have for my whole 4 districts. And I'm planning on expanding from this district down over to here to get all this scrap metal as well. So I'll have to create a new district over here somewhere and create paths in between. But I know I've missed something. If there's something you would like me to cover and go even more in depth on, let me know down below in the comments section. That's what it's there for. It's for a way for me and you to communicate. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying TimberBorn. I am thoroughly enjoying this game. I have put way too many hours into it, and it's definitely been a good release. I've kind of been missing a game like this. It's kind of like Sims. It's kind of like City Builder with a little bit more of risk to it. Right now, apparently this drought's only going to last 2 days, which is really good. I don't think I've ever seen a drought only last 2 days, which is awesome. But with that said, guys, I will see you guys in the next episode. Maybe it's TimberBorn. Maybe it's Farming Simulator. Who knows? If you want to see more of this game, let me know down below. Anyways, guys, see you in the next one. Toodles!